We are entering into the ELF season of 2024 very, very quickly. I've done evaluations, I've done top fives, I've done the import rankings, I've done a lot of different things. For those unaware, my background in European American football scouting actually comes from youth football. And I've done a few youth videos over the last few months. I'll link them in the description as well as here. That is what I really do love. I actually do have quite a good track record of predicting players and writing about players before they become the ELF Rookie of the Year. I've done it a couple of years in a row, and this is going to be 5 receivers that I think could be in the running for Rookie of the Year or Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, a few years ago, I made a Marco Schneider video. It's actually one of the very first videos I did looking at European American football. I also leave that in the description, and it's also on the screen as I speak. In that video, someone left a comment about Noah Traore, and I've been meaning to do a Noah Traore video for years. He was big back then. He's just got better and better and better every single season. He's an Austrian receiver who's going to be playing at Vienna Vikings this season. He's listed at 6'1", 190 pounds. He's 22 years old, and he's one of the most athletic receivers we have coming in this year as a European. He has an incredibly lengthy frame. He's a great route runner, super creative with his routes. When it comes to his footwork, his head fakes, his hands, he's a very intuitive route runner, and he does this to an extremely high level for a 22-year-old receiver. He has great hands, he concentrates on the ball superbly. He's going to be playing mostly at the Z. You obviously got Jordan Bua, you've got Weston Carr, and you've got Ben Holmes, that amazing offensive line. The running back room is phenomenal. So it's going to be important to hit him early. I think that he could really gain momentum. He came 14th in the AFL last season for receiving yards, with 422 on the season and 4 touchdowns at Salzburg. But the problem with Salzburg is they didn't use him as effectively as I think they could have. Their quarterback wasn't great, their offensive line wasn't great. It wasn't able to make him flourish as much as he possibly could. Also, Jones Corey, who was second in the league that year, was on the same team and got 966 yards and 12 touchdowns. So it's kind of hard for him to make that big impact on that team. In Vienna, I have been told he is lighting people up. I've been told that he's looks phenomenal, and I do think that Noah Traore is going to be one of the best young receivers we have this year. His ceiling is so high. My comp for him is actually Radim Kalius. Just left Vienna to go to Prague. I think that he fits into that mold really, really well as a lengthy athletic option. Needs to put on a bit more weight, of course, to translate to the next level, as well as his motor on certain players. If he's not the primary read, you can tell that he is not as mentally checked into the play. And his run blocking isn't as high level as some other of his counterparts. Having said that, I do think that he's one of the favourites, if not the favourite out of this entire group to win Offensive Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year. He's a great receiver. I am so excited to see what he brings to Vienna Vikings. Another player that I've discussed in length in my writing is Leonardo SLE, British receiver with Greek and Latvian heritage. He comes into the Heltavik Mercenaries as their receiver for this season. Exactly the same size as Noah. He is 6'1", 190 pounds. He is 24 years old at the United Kingdom. I've actually played with him myself, so I know his player profile pretty well. I actually think he's the most pro-ready receiver coming in this season. Noah does have, of course, outstanding physical traits, but Leonardo is an extremely polished route runner, really sits on his routes superbly. He's got very solid hands in contention and also concentrates really, really well when he's over the top of the defender. He's very clever with his hand placement. He does not shoot his hands out really early on the catch point. He keeps them close to himself. He draws the ball in. He tracks it really well. That's what I mean by pro-ready. I think that's really going to affect some of the DBs he's going to play against this year, because he does not tell when he's going to bring the ball in. He has quite a bigger frame for the slot. I think he's going to be playing at wide majority of the season for the Mercenaries. He's 6'1", 190 pounds, as I said. So he is slightly bigger and broader than a lot of slots in the ELF. And given his connection with Carlton Aiken, who was his QB in Poland, they're not going to skip a beat. Like, he's going to be immediately getting that ball. Like, it might take a while for Carlton to build that connection with his American receivers or with his Swiss receivers. With Leonardo, he's going to have it straight off the bat. I think they're going to start early. I think they're going to hit often. He had 9 touchdowns in 8 games in the Polish League, and that is where I think he's going to make his bread. We discussed his route running, how good his body control is, how good his hands are, how sharp his routes are, and that in the red zone is going to be imperative. I can see him being a big red zone target, especially at the slot. They're going to be able to hit him quickly. He's going to be too physical for slot corners, the majority of them in this league anyway. He's going to be too fast for linebackers. He's going to be able to hit whip routes. He does have a varied route tree. That, I think, is where you can see Leonardo be a really, really big player for the Mercenaries in those goal line and red zone situations, as well as third downs and money plays. He actually reminds me quite a lot of Remy Berthelon, which is extremely high praise as an all-star. So if you can see him kind of fit into that role, that's why I think he's going to be with the Mercenaries. Of course, I said I played with Leo. Big fan of him. Obviously, he's a fellow Brit, so I'm excited to see what he does this season. Another player is making their debut in like a bigger league, because Poland is a good league, but this is a big step up, and I think that's going to be another thing that we're going to have to see how he adjusts with. Better press corners, more elite DBs, American competition. Now, this signing was very surprising. As someone who covers youth football, of course, I did my NFL Academy video pretty recently. Brian Winter was one of the people that I wanted to put on that video, but thought, I'll make my own video for Brian Winter. And then he signs to the Rhine Fire, which, in my opinion, is a match made in heaven. He's increased so much with Ian at the receiver coach in the NFL Academy. He's a phenomenal receiver coach. He's going to go over to the Rhine Fire, who have Andrew Wandinger, who was a former NFL level receiver coach and a former scout, and is one of the best coaches of offense. He's got John Shoup, who's going to be the quarterback coach, but of course he's going to be around that mind. He's going to be with Timur Beckman, who is a tight end coach and also a player personnel who knew him when he was younger. It's just a perfect fit overall for a team. Receiver-wise, he's got McKnight, who's going to be able to learn a lot from. He's got Harlan Kofi, who's going to be learning a lot from. He's got such an amazing room around him. He's not going to light the stat sheet on fire this first season just because of how many weapons are also in the Rhine Fire team. But expect him to make big impact off of the bench. He's just turned 19. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds. This is going to be his first season in Europe as in a big league, not just in a youth level league. And a lot of people will be messaging me like, oh, does that mean he's losing eligibility? Not necessarily. He could still keep his eligibility. It just means that he's going to be playing in the ELF this season and not the D1 score, because he did hold a D1 offer from Campbell. We have seen players like Noah Podjaginen last season, offensive lineman, went to Florida. He played the whole season with the Unicorns, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to play D1, but this is going to be a phenomenal experience for him. I'm super excited. He plays an outside Z receiver, can also come into the slot as well. Versatility, that's what he's going to be at. He's going to be coming off the bench, he's going to be making big splash plays, create space, he finds space. Good route runner, great hands in contention, can really get over the top. His jumping is vertical. It's something I'd like to see the numbers for, because he gets over the top of DBs and he can snag the ball out of their hands. Of course, this is a big step up from playing high school level to a professional league, so we'll see how he adjusts that. But Brian Winter is one of my favorite young receivers in all of Europe, full stop. If you remember last year when I did my whole thing on the receivers, I got quite a few hundred in. I said Nico Straumann was going to be one of the better receivers and he was going to have a breakout year. I see a little bit of Nico Straumann in Brian Winter. He could be that possession guy who can mix it up deep, create space and find it between the coverages and be a real difference maker. Am I saying he's that now? Like, is he Straumann's level? Not quite. He's not Straumann's level. Straumann's a veteran of this league by now, but Winter could be that, I think, for the Rhine Fire. Just a very safe hands, good option who can catch over the middle and can stretch the field. Now, this is a player I am really excited because I don't feel like people were talking about him. Lon Korci is an Albanian, Italian, German receiver. He's going to be playing for the Frankfurt Galaxy this year as a homegrown player. I am very excited that no one's talking about him because I get the opportunity to talk about him. Also, complimentary shout out to Rian, my friend at Hjei, Albanian, helped me out with the last name, so appreciate it. Shout out to Rian at Hjei. As someone who is going to be very involved in the future of European American football, Rian is definitely a guy who should be looked at. Scouting, player analysis, offensive stuff, fucking legend. So European teams need to seriously keep an eye on Rian. When he's not doing American football, he's doing MMA, which, as you can probably imagine, means he's a tough fucker. To put it lightly, tough as old boots is what I've got written in my notes of him. Extension of the run game as well. He's lined up as a wildcat for quarterback. He can take jet sweeps. He's going to be able to be multiple positions on that Frankfurt offense. He's a creative route runner like the rest of them. He's going to fit into the slot. A lot of these guys are very sharp route runners, and he is another one that uses head fakes, uses deceptive movement, and is able to use the fluidity in his hips to get open. I don't think he's an absolute blazer, but he's built durably over the middle to be a slot guy that is possession catching and making plays after the ball. He does also body catch a little bit, which is something that he could be shored up on, but he's not going to be expected to be catching 50 to 100 balls a season. He played for the New York Lions last year. He got 12 games played, 202 yards, 28 receptions, 0 touchdowns. Not elite level production, but I see something in him that I think he's going to take a step up. Of course, Frankfurt are loaded. They've got Markel, they've got Nico, they've got Brandon Butler, who I've been told is doing really well in camp at the moment, and they've got Kucci. But I think that Kucci does have phenomenal upside. He's going to be a guy who is going to be on not a lot of people's radars, but really should be. I think Joseph Janota is actually a very solid comparison. Has a similar toughness, is a slot guy, maybe a little bit smaller, but just just fucking stacked. Like, he's going to be able to take contact over the middle. So Joseph Janota, Kuchi, I think, line up quite well. I think that he's going to be a very valuable option in that slot for Frankfurt. I think he's going to get them out of a lot of tricky positions with his good hands, his creative route running, and his overall physicality over the middle of the field. Hjei, apologies if I get that one wrong, but he's a Dutch and German receiver who's going to be playing in Cologne this season. 23 years old, very similar height again to the other guys, 6'1.5", 1.5", so slightly bit taller, 187 pounds, so about the same as the rest of them. This guy's a very, very fun watch. Played for the Marburg Mercenaries last season as a receiver, but also actually as a punter, where he was surprisingly very effective. Hjei is one of the most fun and entertaining players I think is coming into the league this year. Played for Marburg Mercenaries, got 11 games played as a receiver, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns. His athleticism, his movement translate well to both positions where he can be effective. I would not be surprised if Cologne move him into punter and making him into some kind of playmaker that they can use on trick plays and stuff like that. If you see him in the backfield for a punt, be aware he can take off. Great hands, really, really good hands. Has a good feet awareness to get inbounds as well. Long, lengthy arms that he can snag the ball. Has a bigger catch radius than a lot of receivers. Certainly a Z guy, but is a big fucking playmaker. Like, he might be the biggest playmaker out of everyone I've talked about today. He just makes things happen. 3rd down and 1s, he's gonna get it. 4th and 10, he's gonna get it. Throw a deep ball in a prayer, he's gonna get it. Muff the punt and he has to take off, he's gonna do it. Muff the punt and put it inside the 5, he can do that too. Like, he has athleticism and movement skills and the big playability that is needed to be an impact player in the ELF. He's not as polished of a route runner as some of these other guys are, but he does have good comebacks, good hitches. It just needs to shore up a little bit of his stop-start in terms of being an elite receiver. But I'm a big fan of Hjei. Wrote about him in this article over here for the AFI, so he's been on my radar for a whole minute, but he's going to be a big part of this offense. Expect to see him used in some exciting plays. As for comparison, I think you could compare with someone like Hjei. I'm not going to try and pronounce that one, but the French receiver played for the Black Panthers Thiron, also with the Heldervik Guards. If he can sharpen up his route running, I think that he could translate as someone like Pierre at the next level in the European League of Football. That will conclude us. This was a lot of fun to make, took a lot of research to get into, but thank you everyone who helped me collect a film in terms of me reaching out to coaches and them helping to supply, because some of this wasn't exactly easy to find, and then also my VPN ran out on my Nord, so I had to try and find some various ways to get the tape recorded and put on YouTube. But thank you everyone who supported the last few videos. Very close to 1,000 subscribers, so that's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one short. I usually ramble quite a lot on my end intros, but I think only like 10% people even see them. So thank you for that 10%. Thank you everyone who has viewed this video. Thank you all to the receivers who are going to hopefully make this season a very fun watch. I'll see you all later. Thank you very much. Goodbye.